Yo! What is up, everybody? I'm not that tall, I'm not that handsome, but I am here, and I'm gonna do my best to fill the biggest fucking shoes you've ever seen in your life. And there might be a little more cursing on this episode because I don't know what the rules are, and I'm drinking wine.
There's no
Matt's
rules.
dancing, he's hanging out. Yeah, you
There's
never
no
know who's gonna
rules.
see this. Might show up on a background check one day.
Yeah. And get hired because of it, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I'm already stepping on fucking Matt. Anyway, you go for. I'm stepping on toes.
No toes.
No. I like to stomp it. Our big tall friend is in Mexico with the love of his life.
What do you think he's doing right now?
Oh man. Oh.
Eating a steak on a bone that's chained up to something. I don't know.
He's eating a steak off Haley's butt. That's what he's doing. And he's not thinking about his fantasy team at all. Maybe a little bit. You think he thinks about it like a couple percent at any given time?
I think every hour it pops in a moment. It pops in for a second.
That he sent us a text message. He was going to send us an audio file. And then he sent a message that was literally incomprehensible.
Let me find it.
I read it and said...
He goes, I got nothing for the border, ? I love you both. Enjoy. What? What border? Is it border from Mexico to America? Is he trying to cross? Maybe? I don't know.
The election on his mind is what it is. He's ready.
Oh, my gosh. And then he said, oh, dude, did you guys already record? This is Monday, before Monday Night Football. Like, matchups haven't finished.
Yeah.
We're not even through Monday yet.
That boy, he's in a Mexican daydream, and he deserves every minute of it. I'm sure he's having an awesome time. I'm sure he'd love to be here, but honestly, I think that he's probably more excited to watch PMLP, which is something that at some point, you're never going on another honeymoon.
No.
But you need to find a way to have something going on that involves someone stepping in for you. And it can't be me, right? I'm Chip's stand-in.
Oh,
at a certain point, all I'm saying is down the road, there will come a time when you can. Would you enjoy it? You think watching the podcast? Externally,
cackling and watching that. Because that's the thing. A little insider secret: I don't watch. Like,
really,
I do when Chip posts it. I always check the audio of the caller. I'm always curious, so I'll listen to that for a second. Megan will ask, "Oh, what did you guys say about blank?" Or I'll try to tell her about something. I'm like, "Never mind, let me just show you." So I look at little clips, but I never watch the whole thing. No way.
Interesting. Yeah. It's strange to see yourself on camera, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that why you just don't like it? Or you're like, I lived it, man. I don't need to see
it. Oh, no. It's more that I just lived it. And we usually record and then I go watch like Survivor or something. But I will say I fidget a lot more than I think I am. Like, I'm just in it when I'm recording. But when I watch on TV, I'm like, I feel like I'm looking all around like space.
You're moving around. Right.
Megan's always like, what are you doing?
What I was going to say, you are your own biggest critic, but maybe your wife is your biggest critic, and you are. But she knows you so well, right? She's seeing every little nuance, autistic idiosyncrasy.
Forgot that we're recording right now. As we're talking about this, it's very meta.
Honestly, this is what we're going to have to do. We're really going to have to keep this train on the tracks because we could easily, you and I, will go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And be talking about something not related to PMLP, and we'll pull it back in. We'll pull it back in.
Okay, you're right.
That was a pretty good intro. I think that was some good banter. Nothing crazy yet, but we got some good chemistry going.
I agree. Like, I literally forgot I was on camera because of it. Like, I just completely tuned out.
You were lost in my eyes, right? 100%. And so you and I can channel a little of that steak off the butt energy here and just make love on camera and make it happen. And just, it's going to be all, I'm so excited to send this, to drop the episode.
We have so much to talk about.
I was just going to say, there has to be an episode. So let's get to section 1, which is us reviewing last week's matchups, which thank God I'm on this week because it's not often that I'm excited to look back.
Yeah.
But bam.
On that note, I did like preemptively text Ethan, who I've sent, I think, 10 messages now with no reply. So that's very Ethan. But I did text Ethan last week being like, dude, you're on a heater right now. Would love to hear from you on PMLP. And I said, oh my God, you play Pat next week. If you beat him and kick his ass, like Pat's co-hosting, like you have to call in. And then, but like you said, you're coming off a win, so it's a little bit better to pop in.
It's nice. It's real nice. And the team's playing well, but enough about that.
All right.
Let me cover yours. Isn't that protocol? Is I cover your matchups. So you absolutely eviscerated Ben. But and that's not uncommon for you. You do that. You've been destroying people all year. But with only 101 points, the door was wide open. The door was wide open. And so what I'm going to say is I think that Ben needs some support on this podcast. I think that he really needs somebody to come in and be like a stalwart for him and just say, listen, guys, because he is 5-4, and we can talk about points for until the cows come home. But at the end of the day, fantasy is a delicate balance of optimizing probabilities, right? A lot of it is going to happen against you, but he has made some really good pickups. Look at his top 3 scorers right there. Even I think Darnell Mooney was a waiver wire pickup week 2 or 3, who has been tremendous.
Yeah.
Jake Ferguson, I believe he drafted him, but he's put it together. And without CMC, right?
And Pacheco.
This is a bad week to talk about it. And Pacheco, both of whom are coming back. CMC is practicing this week, and Pacheco will be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit here. Not this week, because he only scored 57 points, and he failed to beat you on the week that beating the sweep, which again we'll talk about later, would have been incredible. But that's just the nature of the game, right? The same way that Ben has gotten lucky with some wins, you got a break. Jaden Daniels looks solid. Devonta Smith was good, and I think A.J. Brown is questionable again already, which means he's going to continue to eat. And then Bowers, dude. Bowers has just been a monster. He finally got that elusive touchdown that he has not had.
Yeah, on the 1 week I played him. It was great.
And he's always getting targets and yards, but the touchdowns, if he can start getting those, he's tight end 1 locked up. So Matt moves 9-0. Matt sweeps for the first time that I've ever seen anybody sweep. He beats every single person in the league, and he now is going to try to redo the cycle. And we're moving on to the reset of the schedule. But let's talk about another great matchup, a much better matchup, which is Chip and Grant.
Yeah, this was a fun one. We said it on the pod last week that Dowdle and Reed would probably go off. Dowdle really did. Reed had just a good game, 13 points or so. Joe Burrow throwing 5 touchdowns. Grant has put up numbers a lot this year, and his PF is actually pretty up there. We got to say it. I forgot the poppers. Chip broke 100. He did it.
Chip broke 100, and he
did
lost.
It. Yeah,
he broke
finally.
100. Yes.
But
and that was one of my favorite parts from last week, Matt. I didn't realize that has not been talked about at all.
Dude, I know. That's on me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It isn't and isn't, right? Chip, he's your co-host. You can't throw your co-host under the bus.
I want there to be that accountability. So I got to. The only reason I didn't notice it until we were pushing for, I think now that he's not here, I can say this. I think he might have waved that in front of me. Hey, I don't think Cody and Ben have broke. And then we ran with that bit for a bit.
Yep.
And once I realized it, I couldn't break the bit. I was so excited to buy the poppers. I had that idea week 3. We need the party hats and all that. And then I was like, oh, dude, it's worse if we bring it out for Chip now, which, I mean, sorry, bud, but you're on your honeymoon eating a steak. Hey, you got 100 points. He's feeling real good.
Yeah.
Wow. So
25 from D-Hop.
Yeah. Yeah, that was insane.
And I'm not sure if you saw him in the press conference after the game. That man was in tears. He was in tears of literal joy. They asked him, what does this mean for you to be playing after the career that he's had, more specifically after the quarterbacks that he's had? How does it feel to be playing on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now 8-0? Somehow. Somehow. Mahomes is having one of the worst years of his career.
Yeah. Yeah, Mahomes is awful.
Anyway, but how do you feel being on the Chiefs, playing with Mahomes? He started crying. He was tearing up, and he's just I cannot put into words what this means for me as a wide receiver. I also don't know if you saw his first touchdown celebration, but he did the Remember the Titans. Because he was a former Titan, right?
And that's cool.
Yeah, which was really cool.
That.
But
that is cool.
That was a great pickup by Chip. I think he's going to be solid.
Yeah, I'll say this about Chip's team. Yeah, Hopkins could be solid. Kupp looked really good getting all those targets. I think Kirk Cousins has a crazy back half of the year. It's just a guy. Every year in fantasy, this happens. Nobody is good single player-wise, all season long, other than your greats. There's always somebody who turns it around. I think Kirk does that this year. I put in our doc, when we were talking about this, I put nail in Chip's coffin. And I put that because for weeks he's been saying, all right, it's not about wins and losses. It's about PF. And I'm just I think it's done. I don't think you can get the PF even. Even though he broke 100 for the first time this week, highest score yet for him, there's just no catching people at this point.
He's got a lot of people to outscore, and it's just the math is very much against him now. And can you confirm that as a math teacher that it is against him? That I
concur.
Math is objective, but in this case, it is objectively it's screwing him here.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think that bury the man. get an extra long coffin, pay the extra $5,000 so he fits in there.
Extra long coffin.
We don't need to. He doesn't need to be in the fetal position, even though he probably is right now. The second steak of the night. But anyway, no need for that.
We're gonna move on here. We're gonna skip Tripp and Ryan's matchup. We're gonna save that for the end. That's game of the week, so we'll save that for the end. So I'll go ahead and talk about yours here.
Yes, please.
Yeah, look at you putting up 115, beating Ethan. You both were 2-6 going into this matchup, but you didn't play like it. I mean, you both are like scoring big. Chase Brown, your highest scorer, and looks like he could be that the rest of the year. Zach Moss out. They got that trade, Khalil Herbert, but I still think it's Chase Brown.
I don't expect Khalil to poach much from him.
No,
maybe
agreed.
some goal line touches and a little bit here and there, but I think that Chase Brown is still the guy, and this is an insurance signing.
Totally. So. And you want that because you don't want the guy getting gassed, and then I think so you want him getting spelled. Achane still looks incredible. So does Josh Allen. We've been talking about those two and Bijan for Ethan's team. He just needs some other guys to do it.
Yeah.
And DK Metcalf has been out for a bit, so that's been tough for him. But Courtland Sutton stood up. So
Courtland Sutton threw for a touchdown.
Yeah, which is only 4 points. We'll talk about later. Maybe it could be more next year.
That's very true.
So who knows? But fun matchup. Good for you to get that win. How are you feeling? Are you feeling with 3-6, putting up points now? Have you given up on playoffs? Do you feel like you got a chance? Where are you at?
I think that I resigned myself to the fact that I didn't have playoff hopes like a month ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more that you win, even winning 1 or 2 in a row, it's insane how delusional that can make you. How quickly you can start to think, well, if this happens and this happens. On the way home from Chip's bachelor party, I was in between pukes in a Pennsylvania gas station. I took Ramondre Stevenson out and I put in Eckler or Zeke, I believe.
Yeah.
And had I not done that, and I hate to be the had I not done that guy.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I got a microphone here, so now is the time to do it.
Yep.
I would be 4-5. I would have beaten Tripp week 1, and in which Cody could say that every week. Cody, I think he mixes up his lineup and his bench. He thinks that the starters are down here, and he's like, well, dude, you mix it up. You did the thing. You mixed it up. But anyway,
yeah,
I do. I think I'm going to be in the pits, and I think I'm going to survive the pits. That's my feeling. I'm not afraid, but also. Listen, man, better than most. The pits, anybody can lose the pits, no matter what your team is like, right?
It's only 2 weeks, so you just got to have 2 bad weeks, which you've had 2 good weeks in a row. I did put that. You're heating up. You're going for fire next week, which you got a tough matchup for next week, which we'll get there. I did put also for this, my note for this matchup between you and Ethan, this was also a nail in Chip's coffin, another nail, which like funny because he's not involved in this matchup. But of course, if you two are both in the pits, looking at your scores here and just the momentum Ethan has had and your team has had, not good for Chip down at the bottom.
And I think it's scary for anybody near the bottom, right? Because 115, 108, Chip with 107, that just shows that I don't think, do we have bad teams objectively compared to the rest of the league? Yes. But do we have bad teams that can't get hot at any given point? No, not at all. And so anybody who is going to end up in the pits, that's a terrifying thing to see that many high numbers. And then the next matchup, which is it my turn to talk about this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'll move on to this one, which was just a barn burner, an absolute barn burner between two of the highest potential. I think they got some of the highest ceilings, but also the lowest floors, these teams. Cody has so much depth, and he just cannot figure out who to put in when. And he's trying to trade this depth. He texted me today, actually, which he always does, and he says, and then within minutes, it's
the boy cried trade. No way.
I'm like, okay, I'll send it right now. He says, actually, I think I need to wait a little bit. He said, I'll reload later so I can beat the bad man. And I said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game. The shop's open. The shop's closing. Like it's the last turn. It's Mario Party. You're not buying items now. You got to keep fucking walking, buddy. Go find a star. You know what I mean?
He's got a couple, but he's not.
He has a lot. He has too many stars. Brian Thomas Jr., man, that was quite the pick, I will say. That dude wasn't even on my radar.
He was a game time decision.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have went with him. That's easy to say now.
Right. I don't think Cody started him. I'm just talking about his roster top to bottom.
Oh, no. He started him over Zay Flowers. That was the decision.
Oh, Zay Flowers had 30. Yes.
Yeah. Which, even then, I just got to say, Cody's been on a heater. We've been talking about his wagon. Replace that, and he's, like, at 90-something. I think he does beat Parker. So he's in between 96 and, like, 102. Like, he's in that small range. So even with that decision, yes, it's a win, which is what Cody wants. But this was, no matter without that decision, this was just a down week for him in general.
Right.
Where's his
100%.
quarterback? Who did he start? Did he start Caleb or?
I think he started. I don't know. That's been his biggest gap all year, has been the quarterback position. He picked up Baker, who's been better, but he was so confident in Caleb early.
He had to have start Baker. Yeah. No, he started Caleb. What?
Yeah.
He started Caleb, and Caleb got 9 points. Why?
He's just. I don't know. He's playing a game within a game with all of us to see. I don't. Parker, on the other hand, his quarterback looks like the MVP in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, he's been
all
great.
things considered, and that's not me saying that he's the best player in football. I think that he's up there, but I think when you think about the other factors that impact MVP, like team success, I have a terrible feeling that the Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl this year. I really do. And
yeah, I do too.
I know they lost to the Browns in Cleveland, but no matter how bad the Browns are, they'll get you one game a year if you're in their division, especially in Cleveland. And so that was their game. And they said, we're moving on. And they just put up 41 points on a Sean Payton defense that has looked incredible for the last 2 months.
The Broncos have looked really good.
And I guess we're going to get a lot of answers tomorrow night too. Some very close to our heart and personal, but they look like a wagon, dude. And I think Lamar is he's the pioneer of that wagon. And I honestly, outside of the Ravens, like, I like Lamar. Me and you saw Lamar play in college. He's a good dude, and it just sucks he plays out in Baltimore in the same division as us for one of our biggest rivals, because I want him to succeed, but not insofar as it gets in the way of the Bengals. Yeah,
and they got Deontay Johnson now. I'm curious to see him get acclimated more. That's something I'll be watching for tomorrow night's game. I got to say this about Parker's team, though. I've been looking at it, and I've been looking at what he's been doing. Is he good? Is Parker good at fantasy? Or, like, good above average? Like, he won a ring before we started keeping track of the history of the league, so like 2018.
Yeah.
And then he's never been in the pits. Don't get me wrong. That's an amazing achievement. But good above average.
No, I don't think he is. I think that
is he good?
Floats. I think that he survives.
It's wins like this, 96 to 75, which mine wasn't that much different this week. But
this matchup right here is not a bad metaphor for his entire fantasy.
Yes.
Because he has that 96 is right there. It's right on the borderline of good. It's by no means great. He has somebody who's underperforming in Cody who could do better. And he gets the win and he moves on. And he's also just very low key about it all. We don't talk about Parker as much, right? He has a bad week. Chip has a bad week and it's getting put on the nearest billboard.
Yes.
Right. I have a bad week and there's going to be some digs, whatever. But it's like Parker, I feel like he has this way of deflecting, right?
Yeah. It's a soft chuckle. It's a soft, yeah.
You were fucking terrible this week. Sound like a penguin gif.
Yeah.
Of like a penguin clapping like this. And you're just like,
what do I
not
say?
Speaking the same language.
No.
And that's it. And that plot just floats away.
I'm looking back at his scores. And again, these are good scores. Like here's the scores for the past 5 weeks. So 96 right here. And then he got 105. That's, okay. Average again, not good, but average. But then the past 3 after that, 112, 117, 119. So
those are winning scores.
Yeah. And 2 of those he won and 1 of those he lost. He won 118 to 119 against Ben on that Monday night. That was crazy. And then he put up 80 the week before that. That's going back to week 4. So, like, he just hasn't broke 120. He only did that once this year. And, again, he's 5-4. Like, he's got a good record, but it's just this very
120 is a lot of points. And I think maybe you lost sight of that
I'm saying that's
in your excess. But
again,
let me speak for the little guy here and say 120. True. That's a lot of points. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a good amount. It's a really good amount. I can't imagine scoring more than 120 and losing. Imagine scoring 133 and losing. How about that?
I can say this from experience of losing in the playoffs because I've never won a ring. You've won 2 rings, so you get it. My all I'm saying to that is, like, you might put up 120 in the playoffs and lose because you're playing against somebody in the playoffs championship. So that's my point. Is like he does what he needs to do to make the playoffs, but we haven't seen him win a ring in 6 years. And I get it. I've never won a ring, so I can't say much either. So I'm just putting him on my level with me. Like, I used to put him above me.
No, Stephen A. Smith has never dunked a basketball in his life. But the guy gets paid $10 million a year to talk about other people. You can still objectively sit there and say, hey, and I think that's true. I think the ring is important because, and we'll talk about this later too, but nobody remembers the losing score.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it. And in context of a ring or two, when I beat Cody for my second ring, that championship was like 85-60.
Yeah.
And then we
I
had
was looking
Chip
at
and
it the
Trip,
other
who
day.
objectively had the two best teams in the league,
Yeah.
I believe, at that point.
Yeah,
It was
they
like
did.
150 to 135. And
Oh, yeah. Chip
That's-
lost that by this much. Like, he would have annihilated anybody in the championship. That was crazy.
yeah, that was when the D-Hop to the side, Kyler
Yeah.
Murray. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was insane. No, but I wish I could go back and see me. I love diving into the archives. When Parker won his ring, we don't have any record of it. We know what happened. I would love to see what his record was. I bet he was 7-7 or something like that, and he just ran the table in the playoffs. But I'd love to know that. All right, we got to move on here to this matchup of the week. Fly Eagles Fly 133, Alvin and the Chipmunks 146. I really thought this was going to come down to like 134 to 133, and Chip was barely going to get it. But Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara and J.K. Dobbins, all three running backs putting up 23, 24, 25 points. Crazy.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Ryan's Eagles putting up 31 and 30. Yeah, this was just a matchup. I think this is it could be a preview of, I want to say, now I would say semis. You could say,
I was going to say semifinal battle.
Because I think Tripp gets that bye week. I think Tripp gets the bye, so he's not going to play week 1. So then he'd play Ryan in the semis maybe. So, yeah.
But no, that is horrifying. 3 running backs with that many points just sitting there. And then Ryan, dude, Garrett Wilson looked insane.
Yeah.
He had one of the greatest plays of the season this year. Barkley also did with the reverse hurdle.
He has the greatest thing ever.
Unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dude, this is the kind of matchup that this might be matchup of the year so far. I don't know if we've had one that has this many points combined between the two, and it was close. It was back and forth all the way, but
I got to check when I played Tripp. I know it was crazy. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was 138 to 113.
That's what I mean. Dude, 146 to 133 is crazy.
Yeah.
That is high scoring. And to lose with 133, Brian's been going to therapy twice a week, dude. He must be, because he was very calm about it. I would have broken something in half.
I'll say both of these teams, this isn't from the data because I don't remember exactly. It's just from my feeling of watching. Both Tripp and Ryan have had lost some crazy matchups this year. They were the number 2 scorer against the number 1 scorer. Where Ryan's lost twice on Monday Night Football, I think might have happened.
Ryan's numb. Ryan's especially numb to it.
Yeah.
Really. He's just, he's seen it all.
Look at this. I'm looking at Tripp's 3 losses. These are the 3 points. 3 times Tripp has put up 120. He lost with 120 against Ethan last week. He put up 115 and lost to Cody when Cody put up 130. And then he lost another 115 when I put up 130. So his 3 losses, he's put up 115, 115, 120 in his 3 losses. What a wagon.
I said it, I think, yesterday when we talked about him being the PF king, right? Because everybody, this is a really good transition into our next segment, but this is everyone is talking about your team and how good your team is because you're 9-0 and your team is incredible. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic, but Tripp's team objectively, statistically is better. PF means, that's what PF means. And I gotta hold your feet to the fire here because that's what a good co-host does. But it's all this talk and this clamor about the trade, especially. And it's Tripp drafted this team.
Yeah.
Tripp went and got Derrick Henry and Kamara, whom he is consistently just, no one is bringing them up. And they were RB1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry's still 1. I don't know where Kamara is. He's fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
He had that crazy week too. But either way, great picks. And he has Dobbins sitting there Dobbins is one of the highest value picks in fantasy this year.
He traded for Dobbins, which was a great trade. Yeah, a great trade. Yeah.
What was the trade? Remind me of the trade.
He traded away Amari Cooper.
Yes.
Dobbins to Ryan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
He had that running back depth. Ryan did, which great pick. And hey, when you have depth, sell it. Right, that's what you do.
Definitely. And I wasn't going to add here. Yeah, he's got me beat right now by 13 on PF. 13 points.
But really, not much. Hardly.
I'm coming back for it. I'm getting that.
But all I'm saying, and I think my point here is, Trips. He never gets enough credit. He never ever does. And I know he has no rings, but it's not because he hasn't put himself in a position to win at all. No one's gotten fucked harder by PF and stats and different things, I think, over the course of this league than him. Yeah. Inarguably.
He's the same as Parker, where they both have never. He's the same way. But I don't know. No offense, Parker. Just Tripp puts up these big weeks like this, 146 more often, I think. So it's one where I hold him differently that way. So
we're assigning more of the intellectual to Tripp because he's got a spreadsheet and Parker's got a 40 in his hand. That might
maybe
be
that's
why.
it. Maybe that's it. We're
He's
like,
just
he knows what he's doing.
Kenneth Walker. But also, what I will say too is Parker is playing like 4th degree mind games at every given point, right? And so, who knows? But enough about Tripp. Let's talk about you because you're 9-0. And now this is the point, even in the NFL season, where people would start really talking about the potential of running the table. You've swept everybody. You've beaten everybody. And this might even be preemptive. And it's funny that we have this conversation because I've actually talked to people in the league about this before they even knew I was coming on this. They knew there are some very strong opinions, right? And there are some people who think that this would be the worst possible thing that could happen for our league into perpetuity. The worst. And I see that argument, right? I get that because especially in the context of the trade, that we can add that element into if we want to, but I don't think it would have made a big difference. I still think we could do the math right now, and I don't think that your record would be different. Am I wrong?
We'd be 9-0. I'd be 9-0.
Exactly. And I'm sure you'll continue to do that math, right?
Yeah. Now, I will say this as a caveat for anybody who goes and checks my math. There was 1 week, last week, I think, when CD did put up 33. If you swap him directly for Jaden Reed, I think I might lose by a point. Right. But this is easy to say in hindsight. Without CeeDee Lamb, I might set my lineup differently because I had 3 guys go for 20 plus on the bench. So I put one of those guys in and I definitely win. So I don't know. But I think
I appreciate that caveat. I think that it's close enough that we can say you're good. You know what I mean? That you would have, whether you made the call or you didn't, it's close enough that it's like, all right, you're 8-1 and you lost by a point, or you're 9-0, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think I see both sides here because the people I've talked to again in the league who said, no, this cannot happen. This is bad. Some of the most vocal people in our league have had this thought. It's because it feels early for the league for this to happen. And can this ever be replicated, which is why it's bad for the sake of the parity of the league. But at the end of the day, like you look at the rest of our roster, the rest of the standings, and they're pretty balanced. They're pretty normal, right? Obviously we have Chip down there at 1-8, but that's going to happen with anybody who's 9-0. And if it happens this early too, right? It happens 6 or 7 years into the league. Who's to say it can't happen again? But I want to know, what do you think? What are your thoughts about this? Is this something you're even thinking about, or are you just worried about, listen, win the ring. If I take some losses here and there, whatever, I don't care. Because you don't get a ring or a trophy for going 16-0. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I have a couple thoughts I'll share. One, I want to highlight Grant did it. He was 8-0. He was 1 win away, a couple points away in week 9 of running the table in 2019. So Grant was 8-0. I was happy to go back and look at that because I think people hopefully watching know this, that I'm a fan of looking at the archives. I'm a fan of the history. That's clear. I do it. I don't do it just for let me pull out a quick stat. I do it because we love this league and I want there to be legacy and I want to be.
No, I think it's fantastic.
I do think this is a fun moment for that I am glad to wave that flag and root for myself in that way that 9-0, first time ever did it. I think it can definitely happen again. I think it will happen again. I hope we play this league until we die. Years old, so it'll happen again. I'm terrified. I'll say I go back and forth, and I've literally talked to Megan about this. It's funny. I go back and forth of I have this moment of, oh my God, I'm going to lose in the championship. That's going to be my first loss, which would be the most painful thing in the world. And then I have this moment of, what if I win and never lose the whole season? Which is too big and feels bad. But I will say this, now that I hit 9-0, I feel good about it. The record's there. Every week is a new record, which is cool. However, I'd love to take a loss or two. It sounds bad because I want to run the table. But if I do take a loss, I will immediately be like, sweet, I want to reset the streak. Because probability wise, I'm like, the streak can't every week makes it more rare. So
although
let's reset it.
And I'm getting a gut check here because probability wise, it wouldn't change anything. Am I wrong there?
No, you're definitely right. Probability is
I just want to make sure that I don't go say that at work tomorrow and never but it's it's the karmic effect, the spiritual. Yeah. You want to get that out of the way. Yeah. Because you're like, all right. And I get that. I think the more that you win, especially without losing, the taller that mountain that you could potentially fall off becomes, right? And you think about the Patriots and the Giants, that's the example that I would use because obviously no one has done it in the NFL since the Dolphins way back when. And Tom Brady and the Patriots, Randy Moss, one of the best football teams on both sides of the ball that's the NFL's ever seen.
Yeah.
And that excellence and that greatness got them to the Super Bowl against Eli Manning, against dumbass Eli Manning and the New York Giants, right?
Yeah.
And that is probably, if you ask people, if you polled the entire world, give me and talk about a Super Bowl that you remember. Give us 1 or 2 or 3. That would be like 2 or 3 because people remember that one just for the whole sake of the fact that it was David killing Goliath.
Yeah.
And so that's the fear. The excellence brings with it some fear, but at the same time, I feel like the taste of victory, especially running the fucking table, that outweighs anything.
Yeah, I won't let the league forget it if it happens. Even if I lose a ring,
Or
I
should
will.
you?
Which then I expect people to be like, yeah, but did you win a ring? No, I expect that back and forth, and that's okay.
Right.
I'm cool with that. No, yeah, it's fun. I think I want 10. 10 just sounds like a good number. I will say this: Peyton, I think, has the best record. I think he was 12-2. That's the best record ever. Only person to do that. So if I can go 13-1, then I will feel better. Like that, if I lose in the playoffs or championship, it wouldn't be my first loss. So.
Do you think that you have the best team in the history of the league right now?
Top to bottom, yeah. I can't. There's players I want to stash
Totally
right
fair.
now. I'm going to talk about him later, but like Ray Davis, I wanted to put him on my bench as a handicap, for a handcuff for James Cook. I can't.
Yeah.
My bench is just stacked. I just can't put anybody.
There's not a single person you could drop.
Which, like, honestly, trading for Bowers was great. But having Bowers and Kittle, I usually don't roster 2 tight ends, but I have the number 1 and number 2 tight end. So it's like, I can't do anything.
And that's the thing. Most teams would throw that second tight end in the flex, but your flexes and your depth is so good that second tight end is never going to beat out that receiver that you have there to throw in.
Tank Dell and JSN were 2 top 10 wide
receivers.
Both on my bench. Like JSN for 3. I don't know. It's good problem.
And JSN, I think, has established himself as number 1 out there. After this game, this is like his all right, guys. Like we've been talking about it, but I can do this shit. Obviously, Tank Dell, I think his value will drop as Nico comes back. When Nico comes back, especially. But JSN, I don't see. If we were a full PPR league too, that man would just be an animal.
Dude, he's getting double digits.
He's a modern day Michael Thomas, dude. Seriously.
All right, let's dive into this caller and see what he's got to say.
Let's do it.
For the record, everybody, this is gonna be a long episode if you couldn't already tell. But we're gonna have 2 callers on tonight, so it's gonna be a fun time. Let's see.
Extended.
Here we go.
Yo, we're back. We're back with another one. And this is a special one. This is Pat's first time on PMLP. So I'm really going to have to put him on the hot seat here.
Let's go.
And Pat, I hope you're just a little bit nervous, not too nervous.
I'm nervous. I'm really nervous.
So you should be more nervous for that.
I'm very nervous for that.
So first off, coming off a big night last night, it was election night. Pat, just give me, what are your thoughts on what happened last night? Where do you think the next 4 years will be? And how do you feel about it? I'm joking. You don't have to do that. I wanted to get into it. I wanted to ask you both a question. Let's start with you, Matt. Matt, you're 8-0. You're the heavy favorite. You're the Muhammad Ali. You're swinging hard. You're taking everybody down. What is it, 2 more games, and you'll beat everyone in the league, or just 1 more now. With that being said, what do you think the Vegas odds are on you winning it versus the field? Because I think it's probably pretty close. But like we both know, the best team doesn't always win. Mm-hmm. And what just happened last week, Dak Prescott is going down, CeeDee Lamb, maybe Grant got the best of you, which everyone is probably rooting for. But yeah, what do you think the Vegas odds would be on you versus the field? Heavy favorite 8-0. Pat, your question, I didn't want to bug you too bad because your fantasy team isn't really that relevant this year. You fell for the Zamir White trap. Actually, your first running back you picked was Zamir White, which is just unbelievable. So I'll throw a curveball at you. What do you think would happen if all 10 fantasy PML managers did a Hunger Games? Cornucopia and everything. What do you think the tactics would be, strategy? How would it play out? Just give me a detailed breakdown, and don't be scared to pull out that dictionary you got in your brain and use some big words. Yeah, so there you guys go. Thanks for having me on. Enjoy, and cheers.
Wow.
That was a good call, and I love the fact that it was so interactive, too.
Very.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
because now
great.
we have a couple of different situations and scenarios to talk about. First of which is, what would the odds be for you?
Yeah, I want to say this. He said the best team doesn't always win. We alluded to Tripp has the highest PF, so currently not the best team in that regard statistically in that way. So let's hope that actually, I had the highest PF last year. I really wanted to do that back to back, but hearing that reminder Trip, you can keep the PF crown. Let's let you do that.
Yep.
And now, yeah, sorry, what are my odds? What do you think? Minus something, of course, right?
That's the question. And I think it's right there. That's where I'm landing, is right on the border of the two, because there is a lot of luck and chance involved with it.
Yeah.
That Vegas would have to account for and say, all right, and Ben could get CMC back. There's a lot of things that could happen. And so I don't think they would ever put anybody at minus. You might be as close as they can get. 10, 120. I mean, let's give us your number. I'm curious. I'm
also not good at setting odds. This is my first season ever gambling. It's not good.
Right,
so
right.
I'm glad to hear you say that and give some context to it. I'll do that then. I'll say minus. I'll put myself at minus 100. Can you go lower than that? Or that would be the lowest? Minus 100?
You can go minus 2,000. You can go as high as you want.
Closer to zero then. Closer to zero.
No, minus 100 I think is the baseline level.
So I'll go minus 100 and I'll go – I really wanted to actually say – okay, I'll be honest. I wanted to say me minus 220 and then Trip minus 150. But hearing you say it's not normal to put someone minus, maybe you don't put us both there, but I think Trip's close.
Two ways of doing the same thing, I think, right? Like I would put – I could see you at 150 and then Trip at 110. I was going to say if it was you and Trip against the field, there was a bet that either you or Trip win, which I would guess you both get the buys is my prediction, which we can talk about later. But I would put that at minus 400 or 500.
I agree.
400. That looks like it's going to happen. And anything else would be at sort of a shot in the dark to some degree.
Which happens every year in fantasies.
But a big part of that too would be the fact that you two will probably be on different sides of the bracket, right? That helps the odds a lot.
That's true. That's why I think, either one of us minus 500 is probably the right choice. All right.
Yeah.
Quick, because we have a lot to get to. Quick rundown.
We do. Okay.
Hunger Games.
Oh, God. Quick. Hunger Games. It's going to be the first thing that's happening is Ryan Cunningham is finding he's not going to the cornucopia because the cornucopia kills too fast.
Yeah.
He doesn't want a gun or a sword or like a laser beam. He wants like something that's going to hurt for a while and a long time. And he's beating the shit out of Big Z for all that Big Z did to his house as a roommate. All the beard eye nights he was up late, and he is just taking a blunt stick and he's beating his face in.
Wow.
And he might even walk up and be like, "What's up, cuzzo?" and then smack him with it. Yeah. And then I'm going to run in and try to help, and he's going to beat the shit out of me too. And so me and Parker are both dead, and Champ's there covered in his cousin's blood, thinking, "Oh God, what have I done?" And at that point, he's too far gone.
Yeah,
it's over.
A wild man. He's just giving in.
So he's picking you off one by one. Ethan's going to be naked immediately, picking berries.
Yeah.
Cody's going to be trying to save Ethan. Ethan, put your clothes on. Go find a cave. Hide somewhere. Please do something. And he's going to be like, "No, dude, I'm eating berries. I'm chilling, right?" And so I think Ryan would leave them alone.
Okay.
Chip and you and Trip and Grant would have a hideaway. You'd have a hideout somehow. You'd rebuild a Paris, and you would have some weird, and you would be like the Charlie Manson, and Trip would be your right-hand man, and you would convince Chip and Grant that you're going to take them to the end. You like Survivor. You mentioned Survivor earlier.
Yeah,
you would have plans. You and Trip would have plans to fuck them, to pull the rug out when the time came.
Yeah.
But you're not accounting for Ryan Rambo Cunningham, who has now murdered two of his family members and is now coming towards your base, your big wooden base that Trip has built and engineered. He's got Cody's head in one hand, just his head. And then he's got a leash. And at the end of that leash is Ethan. But Ethan is not Ethan. He's an animal. He's a monster. He's on bath salts.
Somebody. Okay, go ahead.
And Ben.
I thought he'd be on the leash, but
No, Ben is not on the leash. Ben is just sitting there watching. Ben is somehow just getting out of it. He's up there with the Emperor in the booth.
Shoot.
They were like, in the first 10 to 5 minutes, he did so many look at the camera joke moments.
They said this
guy's way too funny. They're like, he's so funny. Get this kid up here now. He needs to be commentating. He's up there with the big hair, the people from the movie. Sure. And he's just sitting there, "Yeah, man, I don't know what Cham's going to do here. We're going to see you." But he's being funny. He's being hilarious. He's escaped the Hunger Games off charisma alone. Yeah. But anyway, Ethan bath salts dog, Cody's head. Ryan is walking up to your fortress, and you guys are all just sitting there playing beard eye. Playing beard eye with toenails or fucking toes or eyeballs or something crazy because it's the Hunger Games. He's going to knock on your door. You're going to come out and say, "Listen, we'll give you Grant and Chip. You can have them. You can
Yeah.
take them.
Big
You guys will
dog.
eat good for a while.
Yeah.
And then 1 year from today, we're going to meet in the middle by the cornucopia, me and my dog, and now you and Trip on a relationship
Yeah.
because you said, all right, whatever. Like, we're in the Hunger Games, nothing's happening. What at this point, it's just a logical decision. You're both logical,
Yes.
practical people.
Yeah.
So you two are in a relationship, and you two are going to meet them in the middle a year later. Ryan is ripped. Ryan looks like Parker times 5, and you're going to fight to the death. And the only person left will be Ethan on bath salts. He'll somehow survive, and he'll win the Hunger Games, but he will have lost everything in the process.
Wow.
And that's what'll happen. So
I
Yeah.
do not think we're going to get into that tonight. That is incredible.
yeah, hey, that's a great call. That's a great.
Yeah, kudos to you for putting that together. Kudos to Parker for knowing how to get the best out of us. I think that's pretty.
Hey, that guy, he can ask a question. He can propose a hypothetical. He's pretty good at
He's
this.
pretty good at that for sure. All right, I want to turn this to you though because you came up with these 3 sections. We can take it one by one. We're going to talk about some players and some fantasy aspects. So this is going outside of PML now. We're going general.
Yeah.
Back to some general knowledge before we get back to PML. We have another caller to come on to, and I promise you're going to want to listen to this caller later on.
Oh,
So
I'm excited.
tell us about the first thing you came up with. What do we got? What's the name of the
Absolutely. So the first thing, and there's going to be 3 different criteria here for fantasy players, archetypes that they fall within. This one is the classic Jesse from Breaking Bad. You can't keep getting away with this meme, because I want to know the player, Matt, that you would sell high on right now, that you think everyone is high on, that has been scoring well, maybe like a top 5 at their position, but is completely fraudulent, does not belong there, and is just really a byproduct of their situation, their circumstance, game script, or what have you.
So I know you're going to talk about this player a little bit later on in a different segment. So I'm sorry to double dip here.
No,
First one that came to mind. I actually had 2, and I'll mention the second one. I'll say this first, actually. This is the one that is not my official vote. I wanted to say JSN because I did want to sell a high because he just put up that 33-point game. DK Metcalf will be back. So I just wanted to see if you could sell high and get something good for him. It's great. However, like you said, you alluded to earlier, he might just be that guy. He's been good all year. So I'm not actually going to sell him. And your description that you just gave, you said they're not actually good. He is actually good. I just thought this good value. This is one, again, the player is okay. He has outperformed. And I am willing to sell him because I think you got one more week. I think this is the last week with him being good. And that's Chuba Hubbard, who is one of Parker's running backs. The reason being, they're going to see what Jonathan Brooks. They're going to see what Jonathan Brooks has this week. He's coming off IR, I believe. I know they were supposed to, today was their last day to open the window to activate him. Let me triple check. If they didn't, then
I was going to say it's been initially, it was like week 5 or 6 he was coming back, and
he's fully activated.
Didn't happen.
So he'll be back this week. And here's the comparison I want to make. I heard this on a podcast earlier, so this is not original thought. I have to make that clear. I didn't come up with this. Somebody made this comparison. I liked it. Todd Gurley, coming out of college, was coming off of the same injury as Jonathan Brooks. I'm not saying Jonathan Brooks is Todd Gurley. The Rams waited multiple weeks for him to get healthy. They let him play 1 week, barely got to play. Then the next week they went on bye. And when he came back from that bye, they handed him the keys. The Carolina Panthers play this week. I think Jonathan Brooks gets a limited amount of snaps. They just want to let him get a couple plays in. They go on bye next week. They go on bye. So they get to see what they got in Jonathan Brooks this week. They go on bye. I think when they come back from the bye, it's Jonathan Brooks rest of the way. Yeah, so I think this is your last week with Chuba. And then when they get back from the bye, he's done. So I'd sell him now.
I completely agree. I actually have Jonathan Brooks in every league outside of PML.
Oh, really?
I went and got him late just because I drafted pretty heavy receiver everywhere else. And I said, if he can come back and he can do what we're hoping he will do, what you just predicted, it would be an incredible second half of the season, potential playoff, even Pitts guy to have, because he's going to get usage. We've seen what Chuba's doing. And I don't even think Chuba, I don't think he's nowhere near as talented as Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
It was a weak running back class, but still, like, Brooks is solid, and I think will come out and will show something. I really do.
Chuba's also, his contract's up this year. So, like, They might use him run him to the ground, but they also they have no reason not to move on from him. So who do you got for this? They can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah. So mine is Drake London right now. And this might not be somebody that people are talking about a lot as one of the top guys, but he's wide receiver 5. He's wide receiver 5 right now because he's got 6 touchdowns. And he's got 6 touchdowns on 50 catches. That is an insane frequency, right? I think the average for even elite receivers is like 4 to 6%.
Yeah.
That is just not a sustainable rate. And I think that offense is so crowded. They're going to continue to use Darnell Mooney. Looks like one of his favorite targets as well.
Definitely.
Kyle Pitts, on and off. We could do an entire episode about Kyle Pitts because that dude, he's an enigma of fantasy. But he's going to get his. He's going to get targets. Obviously, he's being used more, and they have Bijan in the backfield. And so it's just, I don't think that he doesn't finish in the top 10, top 15 even. I really don't think that he does just because of how crowded that offense is. And it's not that I don't believe in Kirk, because to your point earlier, I think Kirk is going to be the comeback player of the year. I think he's fantastic.
Got a great schedule going forward. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But I don't think there's enough food on that table for everybody to eat, especially not at a wide receiver 5 level with these guys that we see who are starting to pick it up and are going to push him back in those rankings a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say, I know he got injured last week. He did practice today limitedly, so I think he's even going to play. But you're saying this even despite the injury, even if he's fully healthy, you're saying he's him and Chuba are both on Parker's team. I just realized we're both like, they're done. Sorry, Parker, man. This turned into an episode against Parker for a bit. So
he gave us a great call and gave him some great answers. And I had a feeling he was on that team, but I didn't know for sure.
Yeah,
I knew Chuba was. He has Chuba in every league.
Yeah, he likes him a lot. All right, I love the name of this next segment. You gotta talk about this.
Unchain the bone, baby. Unchain the bone means let them loose. Fantasy player that is underperforming, but it's not their fault. They're fantastic. They're talented. And if they were just in a better situation, they would be a top player at their position. Matt, who do you got?
Okay. I put in here Ray Davis. And I put him in here for 2 reasons here. One, he's looked good with all the touches he's gotten. Rookie running back. He's a rookie. So he's one of those where we've seen the Alexander Madisons, the Tony Pollards, which he's done well, but like some other ones that have been backup running backs, Zamir White, that were backup, like with Josh Jacobs was there and Alexander Madison was the backup for Dalvin Cook, that were like, if they had their shot, we saw them get their shot and it didn't turn out. But this is a rookie, so he still has, the hope is still there that he could do this. And he has some big games so far. Yeah. I really wanted him on my bench because another reason you just want to have him, and here's the other flip of the Unchained the Bone that I'm getting at here, is if anything happens to James Cook, he will get all of the work. I know they have Tyler Johnson, and they still bring him in even right now with like a 3-headed monster. But Ray Davis has showed the Bills that, like, hey, you give me the ball, I'll do some things. They're not going to go away from James Cook. I hope not, because I have him. I have James Cook. But if James Cook were to get injured, I'm going to knock on some wood. There we go. Ray Davis will just be an amazing league-winning back. Parker picked him up yesterday. I really wanted to. I mentioned earlier I couldn't drop anybody. The only person I could have dropped for him was Braylon Allen, who is in the exact same situation. If Breece Hall goes down, Braylon will get 100% of the work. Yeah. So
that's a more important handcuff than the one to James Cook. And I think Ray Davis, stylistically, he's such a Buffalo Bill. The way that he runs and just his entire – and I almost feel like he fits that offense better than even James Cook does, who has been tremendous. I agree with you that James has been so good that they can't go anywhere else. The whole offense has been so good that he's the guy. But Ray Davis has shown an almost Chase Brown sort of electricity as that second guy. No, even more than that to a certain degree. And I think this is a great pick because I do feel like he's just – it's a matter of how much are they going to trust him. And he's going to prove them right every step of the way. The more usage, the more you're going to see him just continue to dominate. Because I do feel like he is fantastic.
Chase Brown was my other pick, but he is unchained now that Zach Moss is gone.
As of last weekend, he's been unchained. I think he had 27 carries, and we saw what he could do with those. He's great in the passing game too. Yeah, those are 2 very similar running backs in similar situations. But I think we should keep an eye on moving forward. But I'll say too, Matt. Unchained the Bone. Yes, absolutely. Mine is actually somebody on my team. Yeah. And that is Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay.
Ramondre, and this might be a very controversial pick, but
Yeah.
Ramondre has shown an ability to be a solid fantasy running back. He's shown it on the Patriots, even on a similarly terrible roster in the years that have been preceding this one. But now this offense is historically bad. This offensive line is historically bad. Like, they are terrible. They had 310 yards of offense last weekend, and Drake May had 301 of them, which is not a good start. Does not support Ramondre in any way. But what I'm saying is this offense is just awful. And I think running backs, especially, it's a position that they rely on a positive scheme. They rely on an ability to establish the running game. Obviously, your offensive line is blocking for you, but game script is probably more important for running backs than any other position in football, I would say. And so I think him being there, he's shown an ability to be that running back. He's to be the bell cow back in an environment where there are not bell cow backs anymore. Yeah. He can catch passes. He can run for power. He's pretty fast. And it's just the Patriots situation, the game script that he's stuck in. They're down a touchdown, 10 points, 14 points first half of every single game. And you're not feeding your running back no matter how good they are in that position. Do I think that he's elite? Do I think he's one of the best running backs in the league? No. But do I think that he's being held back? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. He's getting touchdowns. He's got a nose for the end zone.
He does.
I think
he gets those goal line carries.
Past 3 games, he's like averaging less than 2 yards a carry. Like, it is.
Yeah.
He's not getting any yards. Last week he got 16 yards. Week before that was 42. Week before that was 8.
Every Patriots game. I watch every snap.
Oh gosh. All right.
So I've seen this line, man. I know 2 yards is a miracle. It's a miracle. He's getting caught in the backfield before Drake May even gives him the ball. So he's fighting, shoving people off him, getting to the 2 yards forward. But anyway, what I'll say is let's skip part 3 of this and go on to hot topics.
Yep.
Just for the sake of time.
Cool with that.
And we can roll through this. Yeah. Okay. Hot topics. Hot topics is just I'm the commissioner of this league. And so oftentimes I see a lot of people talking about things, discourse about everything. And I'm always thinking about how we can improve the league. That's always my end goal is what is for the best in this league? What can we do that is going to make this better? Even if it makes 4, sometimes even 5 people in the league unhappy, because you have to think about the masses, right? General contentment. And so hot topics is me bringing up things that have been hot topics or that people have talked about in the league that I want to talk about on this podcast right now in a very objective, practical way with a very objective, practical person in you, Matt. So I think you're the perfect partner for this because we can look at it and say logically, where does this land, right? And this could have been a 20 to 30 item list. But we got it down to 5. And the first one would be the Superflex, which it's a damn shame that your regular co-host isn't here for this because he'd be unchaining the bone. He'd be pulling that thing out and he'd be putting it in the camera. I'll let you start with Superflex. I know that you're somebody who is in leagues like this. I am not in a Superflex league, but I want to know, what do you think about it and how do you feel like it would impact PML?
I think this is going to be a quick one. Like, I'm actually glad Chip's not here for this discussion. Sorry, Chip.
Yeah.
I know you're listening. And I think he agrees with this. He really wants to try it. And we are moving that way in Dynasty now. Like, I don't know if you remember, like in the Dynasty League.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It got 2 years from now, it's transitioning to that. So he'll get that. And I think he honestly has even said he's satisfied with that. He just wanted to play with it in one of the leagues. And now we have that in Dynasty. So I don't think it has a place here. I get the point of it. I get the point that it's not that difficult to pick a top 10 quarterback each week. Although we have, if I scroll through last week, we have quarterbacks that were definitely not top 10. So so there's just so much out there. I'll say this, and this is going to actually lead into the next topic. Interest, unless you have something that you want to add on Superflex.
No, because they are connected. And I was thinking that right now. So go ahead.
The point of it is like the top 10 guys are always there. There's not much of a drop off. However, picking between your Matthew Stafford and your Jared Goff as your QB2 is the fun part. But what I want is our fantasy roster to represent the best players in the league. And so I don't want to get caught up in of course I'm playing Jalen Hurts, I'm going to start him. It doesn't matter who my QB1 is. What matters is how good is your QB2. And then we're only which is fun to be able to call your shot on a Matthew Stafford and throw him in and him have a big week. But I want us celebrating. It's like getting away from celebrating the champion versus celebrating who got last place. I want to celebrate the best players, which is, I guess, the point for the next topic.
And I think we almost have enough of that parity and that skill with the double flex, right?
Mhm.
Removing defenses and kickers, that instills that. But I agree with you. That would be too far in the other direction.
Yeah.
What I think would be a nice middle ground is topic 2, which is 6-point passing touchdowns, because the
Yeah.
quarterback position in fantasy there's a problem with it, right? Where traditionally been the quarterback it's a position that's changed a lot over the years, and from an NFL perspective, from a football perspective. But traditionally, right, a traditional quarterback is somebody who throws touchdown passes and who throws for 400 yards a game, has a good QBR, completion rating, and they're not running all over the field, which it's not to say the game hasn't changed, but I feel like a 6-point passing touchdown levels the playing field for the quarterback position in fantasy, right? I think it makes the quarterbacks who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL, people that we love, Joe Burrow gets a massive bump in this situation.
Definitely.
And I was going to say Mahomes, but honestly, you wouldn't say Mahomes after the year that he's had.
Yeah,
He
not
wouldn't
this
be up
week.
there. It'd be
Not this year,
Jordan
man.
Love. It'd be Kirk Cousins. It'd be Baker Mayfield would be fucking insane in 6-point passing touchdown. He would
He'd
be
be QB1
number
right
one
now.
by far. And so that's why, for me, I just feel like it makes sense. What do you think?
I will say I've been the one pushing for this, I think, the most. And I know last year we literally had a split vote. I think it's one that we will go through. One of my favorite moments of this offseason when we did debate this, I said something about Justin Fields. And I forget the exact back and forth now. Cody said something of, what do you mean he was amazing last year? And I said something like, you mean in the real NFL? He goes, oh, no, he was garbage in the real NFL. And then I said, Cody,
Right,
you're the
right.
champion. You're the champion. Who was your starting quarterback last year in fantasy? And he said, oh, Justin Fields. And it was like, he admitted he was so bad in real life, but yet he was on the championship winning team for fantasy because Justin ran the ball a lot and was good for fantasy. I'm not trying to diminish running a touchdown. What did it also for me was Jalen Hurts, which we're seeing this here. Jalen Hurts doing a 1-yard QB sneak is worth more points currently than a 20-yard passing touchdown.
Yeah.
To throw a ball, like physically, none of us could do it. To throw a ball accurately for 20 yards away in the NFL, that's more difficult than a QB sneak. And yet it's worth less points. So, yeah, you could weigh that like difficulty and points. It's just it's not diminishing the running. It's just making the passing more equal. A touchdown, it should count as 6. That's it.
But I almost feel like we need to diminish the running, though, just because of what you just explained. That the fact that he's literally just getting behind. It used to be Jason Kelsey. Now I don't know who their center is now. But anyway, he's got Saquon back there too. They have ready for that. And is that 6 points worth of energy, of effort?
Yeah. And Chip and I have always said this, and I'll say it then. People will then, you might say, then all these quarterbacks are going to score so much. But it just raises the bar for everyone. And we've always said, Chip and I have these opinions on these, and I stand by it. Any one of these things on this list could pass. And even the ones I disagree with, and I just would adjust my drafting. Like literally, it's like, oh, okay, quarterbacks to draft more. Doesn't mean you got to take them now first overall. They all move up, and they all move up. Superflex, now you're starting 2 quarterbacks. Like a valuable quarterback is more valuable,
right?
But just them scoring more, it just changes your rankings of those quarterbacks. And ESPN does that for you. Even a step further, like you don't even have to do that manually. Like I'll update the scoring, and you can show up like Grant, not even knowing how to spell football, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. You know what I mean? You're going to feel like, all right, fuck it. I don't care who he plays for. He's a quarterback. Let's do it. Let's take him. Yeah.
And you're going to be okay. We can all react. All 10 of us can react accordingly, right?
I will say, I think last year when I always look, it's fun to look at the end of the year. Here's the top 10 in 4-point scoring. Here's the top 10 quarterbacks in 6-point scoring. Yeah. I think 1 through 5 were exactly the same.
Really?
I think it was 8 through 10. And that's what I always mentioned was like Joe Burrow finishes like 12th. When like a Jaden Daniels, which not Jaden Daniels, I meant Bryce Young, which that's a hyperbole because I don't think it was Bryce Young, but I'm forgetting last year. Another rushing quarterback, Justin Fields, that finishes like 7th. Joe Burrow and Jared Goff were better than Justin Fields last year. Yeah. Let them be 7 and 8 versus Justin Fields and Bryce Young. No, that's not who should be. So the 1 through 5 is still the same, really. It really is. So
yeah, that surprises me. And it's funny you say Goff. I know somebody who's in a league where you get a point per completion and you lose a point per incompletion.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's also 6-point passing touchdown. And so Goff has had games where he's gone like 19 for 19 with 4 touchdowns and it's just lit it the hell up. Like he's crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
But next point, hot topics. This one is probably quick. Full PPR wouldn't be a big change. Probably the coldest of the hot topics here. I always advocate for it and I always vote for it. Because I think that, but I'm also biased because I always like to draft receivers and not running backs. And so that's why I like to do it. But What do you think about full point PPR versus the half point? Do you think that's the right direction, or is it too far towards receiver?
I love half point. I really do. I'm a big proponent of it. I have to ask myself, is it because it's what I've always played? I'm in some standard leagues, full point, and like my work league and this and that. And I'll say like guys like JSN, who has gotten insane amount. Like last week was his first big week. But guys like JSN in full point have been insanely good. Like he just gets that boost into the next tier. I have him on my team in this league, and he's been good, but I don't play him every week because he's been very safe, 9 to 12 points. Give him full point PPR, and he's better than he actually is, in my opinion, because until he starts getting those touchdowns, he's just a safe 9 to 12 point guy, wide receiver 3, a good safe flex you can throw. But guys like him in full PPR which again, I would adjust, and I'd be happy right now with the guy I have. So I just think it does the opposite of what I'm trying to do with quarterbacks. It puts some of those guys that are just little dink and dunk machines better than they actually are. When like him getting the bomb touchdowns, I love. So that's my little bit. I love half because he needs that credit. It is tough in the NFL to catch a ball. You deserve that every time he catches the ball versus a running back who gets handed to him every single time. He deserves that half point to be able to catch it. Yeah. But I think the half point's just the right amount. And
honestly, as you said that, like you persuaded me 110%, because I think that's a perfect way to describe it. That he's not in that 18, 19, 20 point tier. And that's where he would be if he was getting a full point per reception. And you think about the correlation to running backs, that's 10 yards. That's a first down. That's a whole ass first down. Is that what a catch is worth? No, probably not. But I still could see why in certain leagues it's worth testing. You know what I mean? Just to see. It'd be a receiver heavy league, but at the same time, the people that it really favors and inflates even more are the running backs who get in and get 6 catches.
It separates that because there are those pass catching backs and there are some non-pass catching backs like a Derrick Henry, and they're still like close because of that. But there's some that that gap would separate more. And I don't think
I'd be starting Eckler every week.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
He's getting 5-6 catches a game.
Definitely. All right. We got to keep moving here. I think the next point, I don't know, man. This is the
hottest topic. This is the hottest topic on the list by far.
Really? Because I feel like I've never heard much chatter about it.
That's probably because I've brought it up to certain people and they've hit me in the head and said, don't say that.
That's my initial reaction.
So the expansion to 12 men, right?
Yeah.
And so here, and this is the commissioner wrote this bullet point because the commissioner is always thinking about everybody and thinking about what, again, and not even like thinking about it in a way that I believe it, but just let's speculate. Let's do some consideration here. And for me, and I will say too, that I think I'm in a unique position where I have people who are constantly like, can I get in this league? Can I get what's happening? And I'm like, dude, don't wait. Don't even wait for it. Don't even think it's not happening. It's not happening. And the only argument that I can make for this is that at the end of the day, this is about camaraderie and brotherhood, right? It is really ultimately about having a group chat of people who are talking, who are doing things like this, who are bonding over this common love that we share.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can say, why not bring more people into that? But as a member, I'm not even sure that I condone that. I'm not sure that I endorse that because 12 is a very different league than 10. Very different. But I want to hear what you have to say as a non-commissioner objective member of PML.
I would be really nervous to mess with the juju that we have. I think as we get older, things will get harder. And I believe in the league and the commitment that people have, and we'll stick with it. And I think adding more people adds more variability of people falling off of that. So I'd rather give it a couple years and see. Here's the thing I'll say about 12. I don't know if there's other then topics off of that. Do we go to 8 in the playoffs, 4 or not? Do we go 6 and 6 still?
You're right.
I hear people on podcasts talk about like divisions. And if we had an even 6 and 6 division now, that adds some fun discussions. And then like trades, you don't even want to trade to somebody in the same division with you. And I love that. We have that in the Dynasty League, but it's never going to be this. I'd love to get on this podcast and talk about like how I beat my division mate like in that week. I think like you could every 3 years change divisions, like remix them, and it'd be fun to even.
Yeah.
Guys would stay in the division with you, and you'd be like, "Damn it!" And it'd be fun to have those. So there's some of those aspects with an even number like 12 that you could split 6 and 6 that we can never get. It does like thin the teams out more, which is going to relate to the next topic also of wanting to thin people out that way, or I guess just I don't know. So. I think it's too much. There's too much hesitation with it right now to mess with anything. But
yeah. I'll say too. Again, that's why I think it's the hottest topic. I wouldn't even endorse it myself at this moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of being a progressive league and being a league that's always looking to get better year over year, even in a little bit of a way, you're open to anything, even for a quick conversation like this, and then you say, "All right, fuck it, let's shelf it," and we won't talk about it again unless we have to.
All right. Next one's I think this one's just the hottest.
You're probably right.
Like I get what you're saying with the other one, but this one's just the most frequent, maybe. Like it's been coming up a lot.
And the most important, I think, too. And I'll go first because we need more bench spots. Like we need more bench spots bad.
Wait, I thought you wanted to remove some.
Oh, no, removes. Yes, we need less bench spots. We need more waiver wire proactivity. Yes, we need to take away 2 bench spots, in my opinion. And some people would caveat that with adding another IR slot, which I'm cool with. I'm totally fine with 2 IRs because I think IR is different. Like you draft that person, they're on your team, stuff them away because they're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Whatever, screw it. Mm-hmm. But the waiver wire is not even a part of our league. Like it's not. It is for the first couple of weeks, and that's a massive element and facet of fantasy football that we are completely lacking for the entire season. As somebody who is in the waiver wire every single week, praying for somebody to be projected above 9.3 so I can start them. Yeah. No, you're not. You're getting Trey Goodson, and you're getting the bottom of the barrel. We have to fix this. Think about if every single person in our league was forced to drop 2 people right now. Yeah, who would be there, right? Some questions.
Some of my players would get swooped up immediately. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. Some of my bench spots would get swooped up immediately. It's funny. I got to call this out. Chip has been the most vocal against this. And he doesn't always say this directly, but he's like saying no, like he's against the removing bench. And we think is because he wants to have this emphasis on the draft, I assume, because that's the only reason you have this emphasis of drafting a deep team. But this is the same guy that has started 0-4 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
That wants to put an emphasis on draft. And if you want us to not remove bench spots, I'll keep drafting deep teams and I'll keep doing it. And things are going to change. If, like you said, everybody had to drop 2 players. Yeah. When Chip goes 0-4, he could go, oh God, and then go get some of those guys that are on the waiver. Yep. I'll say this as a caveat for the adding the other IR. I think, and I know Tripp is a big proponent of that. I think me and him are on the same boat of drop 2 players, drop 2 benches, add an IR, is because thankfully ESPN, if their players just out, you can put them on IR, which is nice.
Right.
Doesn't have to actually be an IR person. So let's say 1 or 2, because we've had some people that have like more than 2 people hit out, and you only have 1 IR spot, and then that same week you got 2 people on bye. Yeah. You are now either dropping the guy who's out for 1 game, which is the same thing as a bye, or the other guys are on bye. And we're dropping, which, yes, maybe is the point of this, right? To put people on the waiver. But you shouldn't have to drop a guy because he's on bye or out. Oh, no, bye, you might have to. If you draft a really bad situation where you have 4 guys on bye, you might have to drop 1 with a small bench. Yeah. But out was out of your control. You couldn't – out for 1 game. Right. That's out of your control. You could see the bye coming, prepare for that. You can't do that with a guy who's out. So – having that IR spot to move that guy and go pick a guy up for a week is important, I think. So
yeah, I'm with it. I'm for it because I don't think you should be penalized for players that you drafted or picked up who get hurt for a long period of time. I do think the waiver wire should be active, and if you make the conscious choice to drop somebody who is going to play next week or the week after, then there should be an opportunity for the rest of the league to benefit from that decision.
Which is why we have the fab. It's not just like throw it out there. Yeah. And then the guy who has best priority gets this all-star because that would be just too random and just the best.
That's chaos.
Then there's still strategy to go bet the right amount, which is going to be awesome to go get a guy.
And I think that's the balance we need to find. Fab is in play in our league similarly to the waiver wire for the first couple of weeks, and now it doesn't even matter. It's out. Like,
I need to add something here.
Yeah,
This is something
at
I've been
away.
wanting to bring up anyways, and I didn't know like how it would be received. This is the moment for
Yeah.
it. I'll just say.
Okay, hear it. Do it.
I know in other leagues you can trade fab, and I believe in our league you can. And I heard this the other day. Somebody on the podcast I like to listen to mentioned they put out in their league chat like they needed to drop Caleb Williams, and they say, and they're also out of fab because again with a better waiver wire, we're going to have a smaller fab dollar like
Constant bidding every week.
Yeah. So they said, hey, I really need some fab. I'm going to drop Caleb, but anybody who wants some, I'll trade you Caleb for 2 fab or 5 fab. So,
wow.
So if I know I'm going to drop a player, or maybe they're missing one game, or maybe they're on a bye and I don't want to throw them out, I can at least, if I have to drop them because of this tight bench, I can at least make a deal with somebody, started bidding more almost between you and a couple other people. Hey, I'll give you 10 fab for Caleb. Sure. Thank you. Now I have 10 more fab for the next week that I can hopefully go get a bid and fill that spot. And I think trading fab is a great idea. We don't really need it because a lot of us still have money. But with this situation, I think it'd be great.
It just puts a lot of mechanics in play that aren't right now that are important to fantasy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To say it in a concise way. That's where I think I land on the whole thing.
Yeah. All right.
Caller number 2.
Caller number 2. I think we're over an hour now. So we might be close.
All right,
to
we can speed up.
All right. Here we go. Enjoy. Make sure my sound's up.
Good evening, my fellow PMLP listeners, viewers.
Oh my God.
It is I, the man who was recently deemed out of his mind for his involvement in a trade that shook the PML League to its core.
I know he's reading
this. Go down in history as the turning point for one team. At least I hope so. What up, y'all? It's your boy Granny Aunt, G-Baby, G-Dog, otherwise known as the lamb who has been chopped. But am I as chopped as people say?
Ooh.
I guess we'll let the points speak for themselves.
Oh, get him.
Oh.
138 points this week, with some very notable performances from a Dallas running back and a Green Bay wide receiver that many thought were just above average Rambo. Nevertheless, we took home that dub over the Koopa Troopa, Mr. Chip Sparks. Not today, Chip, not today. And I expect this victory train to continue all the way into the playoffs.
Come on, Grant.
That's right. You heard me. I'm coming for that 6th spot, and you better be ready. Because I got that divine intervention in me that tells me when a waiver wire pickup is going to poppity pop the fuck off. Anyways, this has been fun. I hope our show hosts are doing well. A big thanks to production for having me on.
Thank you.
Good luck to all of my fellow PML brothers this upcoming week. You're going to need it.
Wow.
Ooh.
Patch me in that matchup tab, but be careful. You might just get got. Peace.
Wow. Let's
Wow.
go.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That was much needed too, because I do honestly think people have been getting too big for their britches in terms of deciding on foreign affairs. Who's trading what?
Yep.
And honestly, let's just spontaneously let's talk trade. That the trade itself very quickly.
Okay.
Because I was in the center of the shitstorm, but at the end of the day, I almost regret making any changes at all. Because now look at George Pickens.
Yeah, no, it
right?
got better for me, which
and
is
at the end of the day,
looking good.
They can all come in. They can all. Everyone was bitching and losing their minds. But all that I thought the entire time, Matt, was what if they were the ones who texted Grant and made that trade?
Yeah.
Most notably, what if our tall friend was the one who texted Grant? Because he would be. There's no way the trade would have gotten adjusted at all.
No.
Like he would have burnt the house down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is all this is to say that we don't fucking know. Grant, the people who are sitting out there who are talking about this is a terrible trade because I went on RotoWire and I typed in some names and some other guy's algorithm said that this was a bad trade. Like you have not finished better than Grant, like ever. So
he was his number 2 on the week. 138 was that second.
So whose opinion should I trust here? The guy taking the trade who has a better winning percentage. That is it might as well be an IQ score in fantasy. That's all that matters. Do you win or not?
Yeah.
Or do I listen to the people who are like, no, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. I don't know. It's also a free market, but I had to get that out because
I'll say it's easy for me to try to play martyr. I don't know, play whatever. But yeah, Dak is going to miss He's going to go on IR. He's going to miss a lot of weeks. We'll see how CeeDee Lamb can do with Cooper Rush. I think he'll be fine. Cooper Rush is not afraid to throw it. But CeeDee Lamb's also week to week right now. So CeeDee Lamb could miss. I think he's hopefully expected to play this week. But if that happens, then I think Grant got the better deal here. But we'll see how it goes going forward.
You just don't know, right? That's the thing about it. You really don't. It's a crapshoot. And it can look one way and it can turn out the opposite. And that's just the way it is.
And there's a chance that, like, CD is still great. And people are going to look, CD's still doing great. Yes. There's a chance also that Jaden Reed and Rico Dowdle keep doing what they're doing. And then we just both win. Grant and I both just made a good move. I think Pickens is actually going to be the thing that tips it back to my side, which
I think, and this is the last thing I'll say about it too, but people will oftentimes, they'll say this trade was fair because these two players who were exchanged for these two players outscored those two players. Yeah. But that's not even the end of it. That is so reductive, right? Yeah. Because you can make a trade and the players that you ship can score far less than the players that you receive. But based on the composition of your roster, your team performs better because of certain depth that you had in places, which is not something that any of us are going to go calculate. There's too many variables there. But to sit there and be like, this person, CD had 25 and Reed had 23. So therefore, that is crazy. That is reductive and simplistic. And you just let people trade. Let them trade. You know what I mean? Whoever is in charge of this league needs to just fucking take control and
you're doing
get it going.
I'll say, Grant, I love the energy. I love the sassiness, if I have to say.
Yeah.
This is great. That was a great call in. Man,
that was fantastic.
Blew me away. What do you say? Catch me in that
Lamb has been chopped.
Yeah.
Or
is he?
Has he been chopped? I don't know. You're right.
Oh,
hey, that was great. Thank you, Grant. I really appreciate it.
All right. Last thing. Let's look at next week. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, and pull up matchups here. All right. Chip and I always try to talk about the other person's matchup. I'm just like, we can both talk about both. This way it always goes.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I'm going to lead us off here. Ethan's team has been a wagon. He's been heating up the past couple weeks. He's at almost full force. No DK Metcalf this week. They're on bye, and he's still injured. I got my full team at full force. I got nobody. Well, I got some guys on bye, but it's all good. So can I keep the streak alive? Can I hit 10? Every week is a new record if I win. And is this just going to be a high-scoring affair? I think this could be a barn burner for both of us.
Yeah, I think so too. It would be so fantasy for you to lose this. It would make so much sense. And it would be – I would love it. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the league as a whole would be like, that's too perfect. But Ethan has shown an ability to score a lot of points the last couple of weeks. His team is healthy now. And I'm never going to say that you're in grave danger because you never are. Yeah. But lightning can strike any week. And I feel like the way the matchups look on Ethan's side, especially, Josh Allen, favorable matchup. Bijan, favorable matchup. A-Chain is just a freak.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy freak. And
I think that's going to be a fun Monday night game, too.
Ethan's team has such a high ceiling, right? Look at those three players right there. The explosive ability of those three versus the three that I see on your side. Much higher floors, but much lower ceiling. So if lightning strikes, I think Ethan gets you. I think he does.
Ryan said it. He sent a screenshot of my roster like a week or two ago. That's the thing. I agree. Those three there that Ethan have massive ceilings. I got other guys that aren't in the top projections here, like CeeDee Lamb and Kittle, that can actually also just explode. But I'll say this is the fun part about this matchup. I believe the Monday Night Football game is the Rams. So you got Kyron Williams versus the Dolphins with Devon Achane. So it'll come down to Monday night, running back on each side of the ball. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one. All right, Ryan versus Chip. I think this is – what happened here? Oops, I moved it. Ryan versus Chip. This is going to be a fun one. Just in regards – Chip doesn't have his full roster in. That's why the projection's lower. But I think even with – I looked at it. I think it only gets him up to 91. This is a get-right game for Ryan. He's gotten some Monday nights – where he lost. I think he's now lost 3 Monday nights, maybe could be 2 or 3. So this is one where he gets to 5-5, gets back to 500, and I think this is just
Ryan's going to beat the shit out of Chip.
This is hot dog versus pancakes, right?
Ryan is going to beat his face into a pulp.
I think so too. I don't think there's much to say.
He's going to put him on a leash like Ethan on bath salts. And I'm calling this one. It's already over. It's done. Yeah. Chip, drink a margarita. Don't even don't delete the app. Move on.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on. Yeah, this is a fun one. The two callers.
This is
two
the callers.
sweet.
This is also a quiet rivalry. These two have a quiet tension between them.
I've heard some things like people have said when you call in, the people that call in, not every time, but
Colin
a lot
Kirst.
of people have lost the following week.
We have a group chat. It's all of us except for you two, and we rate every episode. And we talk about them. And we speculate.
No way.
We're like, next week Chip's gonna do this, whatever.
Oh my gosh!
Did you notice how much Matt was twitching last episode?
Oh,
Those kind of things. But yeah, this is the matchup. This is, I think, probably the favorite to be matchup of the week, I would guess. Just because
this can be your matchup of the week. I have a different one, and I'll talk about that.
Okay, this is definitely mine. I think Burrow versus Lamar tomorrow night.
Oh my God!
Started off the
night.
captains, and I think again at 4-5-4, this is a pivotal game for both of these teams. Like they both
definitely
a must-win for both teams. Close projections. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to watch Dowdle and Reed still and see what happens here. Parker's throwing Tyrone Tracy Jr. in there, who's been fantastic. Has been like the guy. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I got to
battle the colors.
I'm trying to pull up the rest of their matchup. I just want to see anybody else that he'll have Tyreek on Monday night, like I said, because that's the Dolphins. Let me look here. Aaron Jones against Jacksonville. Oh, Grant's starting Deontay Johnson tomorrow night against the Bengals.
Wow. Hey, that's not a bad decision with the Bengals secondary. That's not – the Ravens put up, 49 points in the Bengals.
Oh, here you go. Arizona, dude. The fact that he starts Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison every week, like, obviously he's got to start them both. They both have been great sometimes, but, like, Trey McBride has been really solid. Marvin Harrison's been hit or miss. They played the Jets, so that secondary is pretty good with Sauce. Like, that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard against the Giants in Germany. It's going to be a fun one. You're right. For playoffs, this is an important matchup between the two of them.
Massive.
Damn. All right. Moving on here. We got your matchup. Is Tripp actually – no, I think he's waiting on Nico Collins. That's why his projection is a little lower.
He hasn't activated him yet. Yep.
He hasn't put him in yet. One guy I was going to talk about earlier that we skipped on the Imposta segment was Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has been top 5 in rushing attempts every week he's played. He's getting 27, 25. Like, for the 8-0
That
Chiefs,
makes me so sick.
That's why I said Imposta, because he's not, like, breaking 40-yard runs. Like, he's just getting goal line work after work. Catching. He looks good, don't get me wrong. He looks okay. But, like, insane. So to put that with these 3 running backs, Kamara, Henry, Dobbins, and then Kareem getting 25 carries, oh, my God.
It's ridiculous.
Such a high floor.
I have a tall order here for sure. I see that. Darnold was solid last week, but he was not comfortably solid, right? It was a struggle every step of the way, and I don't expect that to change, but I still don't think I can put Stroud in my lineup based on how he's been this year so far. And so that's just where it's at. I don't mind having the JJ stack because JJ is everything proof. He's game. Yeah. So if there's ever a week to have the stack, it would be this one, I would say. Yeah. So I feel like I have a shot, but like you said yourself, Tripp's team is better than mine, top to bottom. And so it's going to take some favorable outcomes for my guys and some less than favorable outcomes for his. And
you need a just like passing affair tomorrow night with the Bengals and Ravens, and Henry doesn't get any touchdowns. Like he's still going to put up a 12, 15-point game, but not his normal like 20, 30.
Yeah, he's about as script-proof as JJ is, right? Like I feel like even if it could be, he can get 10 carries, but most of those would be goal line, and he's going to score 2. And it's that's who he is.
I will say you're heating up. You're going for 3 in a row, so you're trying to catch fire. Tripp is definitely wants that bye, going for that bye. Him and Cody are tied right now in record. Tripp obviously has the PF over him. It's a big – he's got to keep winning because, like, just a couple losses, Cody can take the bye just by record, which is pretty crazy. So this is my matchup of the week, the next one. It's a fun one. It's not a good matchup, like, projection-wise. I might have been swayed. I might be swayed to Grant versus Parker. I'll say this one's a fun one because Cody is projected a lot more than Ben right now, yes. But Christian McCaffrey's back. And his projection is 16. We know he can do 30. We know that can change. Give that 30, and this is a different matchup. The other big thing is Ben has to get in by record. He will not get in by PF.
Right.
He's in 5th right now at 5-4.
Can you click this one? Let's see the full rosters. I'm curious.
Ben has
I do agree.
to win.
This is an interesting one.
And Cody really needs that bye. So, like, Cody needs to win in order to get that bye over Tripp. Ben has to win to get into the playoffs. So just in terms of trying to get into the playoffs where they want to be, that's what makes this one very important. Ben's lineup, though, dude, is just –
Cody's team is so much better.
Yeah.
Like just at top to bottom, everywhere you look, dude, it's just – that was my immediate reaction. Jesus.
Gabe Davis, no.
Davis.
Look at his bench. You got Olave.
Yeah. Olave's dead. Jaco's leg is growing back. He's only starting Jake Ferguson because he's dating a Cavender. That's what he told me down the hall last weekend. I said, Ben, get your stuff together.
I think Mark Andrews has a really good game tomorrow night, sadly.
Cody picked him up and said within minutes that you guys were wrong. Like, he's not done. And then he has not been done since then. So that was a pretty good call.
He picked him up for me. I dropped him, which I couldn't hold on to him. I got Brock and
Kittle. You don't have room.
No. But yeah, sorry, Ben. This is a must-win for Ben. It's just a fun matchup. These two are both vocal. That's why I mean it, but I don't know how much of a matchup it'll be. I am just really excited for CMC to be back. So
yeah, I think the whole league is. Everybody is, right? It'll be cool. Having your 1-1 taken away for the entire season is just – there's not much more deflating than that.
Yeah.
And so to have him back is nice, and I would love to see CMC drop 40 and make this a crazy matchup, or even if Ben beat his ass. Like, that would be cool. I think that would be deserved by Ben for waiting this long for him to get back at all.
They're blood brothers is what they've said on these podcasts and in the chat. So
yeah,
battle of them.
Here they go.
Here's the standings. Just gonna throw this before we sign off here. I did realize that. I was gonna lie and say I didn't realize that. I did. I'm 3 games up, so I think I might have that bye locked up with a win or two. And
I think you're good. Yeah,
I think it'll lock up there technically. Like, I'm saying statistically speaking, I think odds are I got it. But yeah, look at this: 6-3, 6-3 for Tripp and Cody. Big difference in the PF. So Cody has to get that win to get there. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Wow, Grant 4-5 down here at 7 could just make a move this week. Beats Parker, so then he ties with Parker. If Ryan, who's Ryan playing? Chip? Oh man.
So we can have a little 5-4 traffic jam.
Yeah. Grant really needs
That's the thing too. If that happens and we have 3 or 4 guys at 5-4, and then Tripp loses to me, I'm at 4-6. Tripp's 6-4. I'm 1 game behind that squad. He's 1 game ahead. And there's still enough weeks that literally, again, this is the delusion speaking and the wine. But if I win out, I could get this. I could get the 5th seed. Like, I really could.
No, totally. What looks like here, because me, Tripp, and Cody could all win this week. That just separates us at the top 3. But then
which is good.
This will be 5-5, 5-5, 5-5, 5-5, and then, like you said, 4-6. You are 1 game back on 4th place.
Yeah.
No, that is not delusion. That is very real.
We got 5 weeks left, right? Plenty of time.
Wow.
And again, this is to bring it full circle. That's why I never want to be the guy who said, if I had done this, but if I was 4-5 right now, like,
you'd be. Who are you playing this week?
Tripp. And because I only bring it up because after it happened, I said, oh God, I hope this doesn't matter. I hope I'm not looking at this on a podcast 90 minutes into it in week 9, thinking, Jesus, why did I take him out in that bathroom, in that shell bathroom in the mountains of Pennsylvania?
That was against Tripp then too. It would have been, right? Because week 1, we're all playing week 1 matchups again.
Yeah. Ramondre destroyed the Bengals. He had 25 points. But we just destroyed this podcast.
So we might need to.
So we just destroyed this podcast. Matt, I love you. Thank you for having me on, man. I hope that I filled the big clown shoes that your regular co-host has.
We might just kick him off. Me and you do this the rest of the time.
Hey, you and I can talk. We can talk offline. How about that? We can always pour up some wine and get on a Zoom call and catch up. That's
we
never
can do that. We don't need a podcast to do that.
Yeah, and plus, I feel like this has been I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted. This has been.
It's a lot for sure.
Amazing, but I really, again, and I've said this on my call before, but I just want to say that I really appreciate what you both do for the league every single week. Like, I look forward to it. Megan looks forward to it. I know so many people in this league, all of our partners, the whole community. Like, it really is this awesome thing that I appreciate so much as the commissioner, as somebody who cares so much about this league. Like, it's awesome, man. And so it's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm excited to not be here next week because I want to see Chip next to you as fate ordained. But I've had a great time and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, here. Like, you're the inspiration. You made so many videos throughout all the years. And I was scared when we started doing this that it would inhibit that And so I love
Right.
it. You had a video earlier this year doing the State of the Union, and
Yeah, dude.
I look forward to more of them. I even thought about the off-season one again next year of you doing the us and songs, like so many different things. I hope your content keeps coming out with it and keep joining the podcast.
I appreciate that. It's complimentary, right? All boats rise with the tide. So
there we go.
Let's keep on doing it. PML for life. Much love. Go take a well-deserved piss, brother. Have a great night.
Yeah, have a good
PMLP. Until next year. I'm out. I'm done. I'm not allowed back. I'm not allowed near
That's
any
not true.
playgrounds.
We need you back.
I'm not allowed near any playgrounds, elementary schools. They're like, no, PMLP, the mic, keep it out. None of that. Oh, God.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Peace.
Signing off.
Yeah.